Hello everybody, my name is Maria Shiweda. I am Maria the Prophet. Today I am going to share with you how I cut off Shepherd Bushiri and Hubert Angel way back in 2017. I had watched Bushiri for almost a year, plus minus a year. Way back in 2016, in the middle of 2016, a relation came to the US and introduced me to Bushiri. They said people in Southern Africa do not go to Prophet TB Joshua any longer. They went to Shepherd Bushiri in South Africa, and that there were many prophets now in Southern Africa that people could go to. Well, upon hearing that name Bushiri, it rang a bell in my head. There was a church I went to a few times. I just remember the pastor in that church, the prophet in the church. One day he said to me, "I do not know how you came to be alive at all to this day." He was speaking in shock. He was so puzzled. Fast forward, this one day in the church, at this point he's prayed for me for a few times. But this one day in the church, the prophet stood just there, standing just there, quiet. There was this long silence. He didn't really pray for me. I was just like standing there. And all of a sudden, there was this excitement. The kind that you get like, "Oh, I see it now." Yeah, that kind. So the prophet then shouted, saying, "Oh, it's Bushiri, Major One." At the time, I didn't know what Major One meant, Bushiri meant. I thought it was some type of spirit. But when my relation mentioned the word Bushiri, it rang the bell. It rang that bell in my head. Fast forward to 2017, December 2017, I one day woke up. Just to take you aback, when I was talking to my relation, she gave me, I told her to go if she wanted to, and she gave me an example of somebody that we both knew that she said her things were not moving and she went to Bushiri and everything was okay. It rang a bell in my head, some type of bell, but I couldn't really tell her. But then there was something else. She continued, she said, "But people said Bushiri uses blood." At the time, I didn't know what blood meant. I lived in the natural all my life. I had this long pause before I could tell her to just go. So I said, I had to cover Bushiri. I said, "You know what? The people is a prophet, so people would always talk. So maybe people are talking out of envy or jealousy or this or that. So if you want, you can go. But I know that Prophet TB Joshua in Nigeria is the prophet of the world." Those were my exact words. Because at this time, I didn't really even know what prophets meant, to be honest with you. So that ended there. Fast forward 2017, this one day, the lady she was just referring to was handling me all night. I don't know what she was doing. That's what I don't. But she seemed not to have been succeeding at whatever she was doing, and the ordeal went until the morning hours. So I then woke up. I got tired. Like, I wasn't really sleeping all night, but I opened my eyes to get out of bed. As I just did that, I saw Shepherd Bushiri right by my bedside, by my head, the head side of my bed. And then I was slammed right back into my bed, like into sleep, like eyes shut. I was back into the spirit. At this time, I'm just listening and just watching what was going on. And then the next thing I know, I'm listening to myself forgiving Bushiri on a basis that whatever he was doing, he was just doing because he was young. A young mind is a mind that is envious and jealous or something. That was the basis. So I forgave him that day. It never really came up during the day. I went on with my day. But 2, 3 days later, here is Bushiri again. This time it's not in the morning hours, it's in the night. I could barely sleep. I just remember the war I had to endure after that. There was war. There was war. There were evangelists who were taking turns to pray for me. I had to be under prayer every second I was breathing. I could die. Actually, it was in the night, and here was Bushiri. This time he wanted to take the anointing from the top of my head to give it to his daughter. So he wanted to take my anointing to give it to his daughter. Right there in the spirit, I was so angry. I was so upset. I cut him off right there and then. I was angry in the spirit. I was angry at him when I woke up. I cut him off completely. I didn't watch his church anymore. And I didn't want to deal with Bushiri anymore. Like, he became a paper trash to me. Then this was just before the year ends. It was the festive season, Christmas time. So just in a few days later, it would now be 2018. Here I am. Here comes Hubert Angel. He's trying to take me on some journeys or something, but he's having some green leaves that he wanted me to cook for him so that he can reach a church in Washington. I was so angry. You see, I just cut off Bushiri, so I had to cut him off right then and right there also. So that's how I came to cut off Shepherd Bushiri and Hubert Angel, because Bushiri wanted to take my anointing and Angel wanted to get me to cook for him so that he can reach a church in Washington. And that church in Washington, that's where I went for the prayer line. They used to have the prayer line sessions like once a month where you can go and get prayer with the Good Morning Water for Prophet TB Joshua. Now you see where this thing is going. I'll share with you. I have a lot to say. So, but that's how I came to cut them off. I have so much to share. So like now you see, I had to cut off Bushiri for me to know that I was even having an issue with Hubert Angel. And I had to cut off both Bushiri and Hubert Angel to get to Trump. And only after I cut off Trump, I went to fight the Queen. I have so much to say. I have so much. It has been a war. 6 years of being in the spirit is not a joke. And 6 years of war, intense war, is not a joke. God bless you. Thank you for listening. My name is Maria Shiweda. I am Maria the Prophet.